guys. It's another weekend, April 11th. Blessed, beautiful day out. Beautiful day.
Yes, it is.
Yes, you know your boy, Chris.
And this is your girl, Demi. You know how we do it.
Lights,
Yeah.
camera, action. Let's talk in the house on another blessed weekend. You know something? We've met a lot of interesting people throughout our career in this industry.
Yes, we have.
And our next guest is one of those. Um, Hook them up, baby, and let them know what's going on.
Hey guys, we are here with a treat for you guys. The treat would be Adam Morrow. He
Woo!
is a pirate historian, a reenactment, and author.
Amen, amen.
Yes.
How you doing, sir? Come on in.
Yay! Woohoo!
How you doing, sir? How you doing? Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Roger that.
Hopefully this is a good distance.
Oh yeah,
you're
it
good,
should
you're
be.
good.
And if you want to sit back and relax, you can also pull it back to you.
There
if
we
you're
go.
comfortable.
There we go.
Roger
All right, all good now.
Roger that.
Yeah, we don't want you to hurt yourself now.
right.
What y'all think about his get up that he has on?
Oh, yeah.
Describe that get up that you have on.
So typically what I have on is, well, this is a reenactment outfit. Typically in the reenactment community, this is called a kit rather than a costume, or in festival and Renaissance festival like communities, it would be called like garb. But in reenactment, it's kit. So as for what I'm wearing, I typically aim to portray roughly around a 1690s to 1700 era pirate.
Okay.
That being said, what I have on is admittedly a little bit of an amalgamation of various things. I believe that these breeches I have on are a little bit more 1730, to be honest.
Okay.
Shirt's pretty good. Waistcoat's like a 1720 something cut.
Okay.
The hat is definitely more 1690 style. But anyways, this is my pirate outfit. I always tell everybody this is the work uniform. Everyone always, smirks at that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But-
I love it.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
I've worn this out to a great deal of places over the course of 8 years. That being said, I have different breeches, I have different shirts, and different things to change out. It's not always the same.
Right.
At this point, they're basically just clothes.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
How hard or yeah, I guess how hard is it to find the garments that you need to be as authentic as you can?
I would say fairly difficult. Even after having done this for about 8 years now, you still kind of struggle to figure out where is the best place to actually get all this stuff.
Right.
Because especially if you're trying to go really hard into the accuracy of whatever you're wearing,
Yes, sir.
there is a very small amount of sutlers out there who actually sew stuff based off of period appropriate patterns and so on and so forth. And whenever you talk about reenactment, I mean, you don't typically think pirate.
Right.
The most popular type of reenactment, after all, is 1770s Revolutionary War and
Right.
Civil War reenactors.
Right.
Even when I started getting into this, I didn't realize that there was a pirate reenactment community. Whenever I thought reenactors, of course, I only thought Revolutionary War and Civil War.
Yes, sir.
So whenever you look up resources online for getting into reenactment, I mean, you also find stuff for later periods such as World War I, World War II. It's a whole bunch of different reenactment scenes, but when you're looking for stuff earlier than that, it's rather hit or miss.
Right.
There's only so many people that do it. A lot of the times you're paying a higher premium price because, I mean, they recognize the fact that they are occupying a niche,
Gotcha.
and they can charge, what they need to for the rare service that they provide.
I can understand.
So a lot of the times whenever you see people getting into pirate reenactment stuff, a lot of the times there are people transferring over from later periods who do Revolutionary War reenactment and stuff like that.
Right.
So they're coming into it with, 1750s and 1770s style waistcoats and breeches that are a little bit later than the period and so on and so forth. But once you start getting into it, you start getting an idea of where to find stuff for this. And typically your best place is looking at used stuff on eBay because, again, it's a small community and
Right.
people cycle in and out of hobbies. And I would probably say Etsy is the best place.
Okay. Oh wow.
Wow. So how did you become a pirate?
So I always tell everybody that I was born in 1990. I was 4 years old, like when pirate Legos were the
Okay.
big thing at the time. That was the big
Roger that.
theme in the early 90s was the pirate Legos. 96 was Muppets Treasure Island that came out. And
Yep.
so my childhood was pirate Legos and Muppets Treasure Island. That being said, throughout the years, there was always something that popped up here and there that kept my interest in pirates.
Okay.
Throughout my teenage years during the 2000s, would be all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies coming out, of course. And then throughout the 2010s, there was a handful of video games that came out that
Yeah.
kept popping up.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed, Black Flag,
Yep.
and Sea of Thieves was the big one for me, which came out in 2018.
Okay.
And then the other reason why I would say that I'm interested in this is I was actually homeschooled.
Okay.
I was homeschooled from about third grade forward, and I grew up in Michigan. If this here is the mitt, I'm from down over this way. This is the thing
Okay.
everyone in Michigan does.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm from over here. South Haven, Michigan. So the way that Michigan works, and I'm pretty sure that most states work this way regarding homeschooling, is at the end of each year, there is a set curriculum that you have to be able to pass to legally graduate to the next grade.
Yes, sir.
But as long as you can pass that test, it's pretty much up to the teacher about what supplemental things that they want to teach you.
I believe so. Yes.
So my mom kind of let that be up to me. So I was able to learn the stuff I needed to learn to be able to legally go through school and legally graduate. But along the way, I was able to pick the things I wanted to learn about and hyper focus on.
That's dope.
Oh, that is awesome.
So I mean, I was fairly knowledgeable at the time about pirates back then, to a degree, not anywhere near what I know now.
Right.
But I was also interested in a lot of mythology, like Egyptian mythology and Norse mythology
Okay.
and colonial folklore and stuff like that.
Oh, wow, that is interesting. Our daughter-in-law, she does homeschool,
Yeah.
and she's amazing. What she does is she lets the kids explore, do different things with them and so forth.
Same.
And I
with me.
think that is so amazing when y'all learn like that. That is amazing.
Yeah, any type of extracurricular events that you can bring kids out to as part of homeschooling is great. I remember making a whole lot of trips to museums, of course, a whole bunch of museums, and I remember us going to a Civil War reenactor set up at one point in time in Michigan. I remember that being cool. Never really got into Civil War history, but I liked what they were doing. It felt like being on a film set.
Right.
that
Right.
is-
Right.
I love Greek mythology. I used to love reading about the different gods and goddesses and
Oh yeah.
the creatures and all of that.
Yeah, I love all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just exciting. You can indulge into that world of it and everything. So, what is the most interesting thing you have done as a pirate?
Most interesting. It's a little hard to pinpoint down.
Have you ever done anything that was dangerous?
I wouldn't say necessarily dangerous. So back in November of 2024, I did filming on Discovery Channel for Expedition Unknown.
Awesome.
And
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a really fun experience. If you're unaware, that's that show with Josh Gates. He's like a world-renowned treasure hunter who goes around following real history and folklore beliefs about where stuff might be, and sometimes he finds something.
Right.
Anyways, it was a great experience. I had some friends come up from Florida to be a part of it, other reenactors that I know from a distance, and it was a good time. One of the things that we did was filming down at Charlestown Landing over in West Ashley, if you've ever been.
Yes. I never been, but I know it.
Yeah.
I've been there before. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they have the tall ship there. That's the only place here in Charleston that we have a period-appropriate tall ship. They have what's called a 1680s style ketch. It was the same type of ship that would have been used back during the 1680s and 1690s, sailing cargo back and forth between Barbados and the port of Charlestown.
Wow.
But we did filming on that ship, and one of the things they had me do, they had me hanging off the side of the ship.
For
So there was
real?
that. Yeah, we kept filming this one scene over and over where I was hanging on the side of the ship. I was hanging on to the shrouds, which are basically the vertical ropes that go up to
Yes,
the
sir.
mast. They had me hanging on the outside of that, and every time they called action, it was time to clamber over the ship and then jump onto the deck.
Okay.
And then you got to reset, and you got to climb back over, and
Right.
you got to jump again. You got to climb back over, and you got to jump again. And it was strenuous. It was strenuous.
Right.
I mean, I guess if my hand would have slipped, I would have fallen into the river. But
Right.
I guess that's the closest I got to
Well, if
dangerous.
that would have happened, I hope they had a net and some experiences, divers and swimmers and stuff. Yeah.
Nope, none of that.
Uh,
There was no precautions in place.
No,
Oh,
no.
no.
Not to slander Discovery Channel.
I would have been like, okay.
They didn't even ask if I knew how to swim.
Oh,
I guess it was just assumed.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because we've seen Expedition Unknown.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
I know
watch
they
it.
were like Bigfoot and different things.
Yeah, he has a handful of different programs.
Program,
There's
right.
Expedition Unknown. There's
I
the
forg-
other two.
yeah, I
he does
forgot.
another two where he does like more like folklore stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the one that we've watched more. It's him and another gentleman and a lady, and they'll go out and they'll be doing something on the paranormal or something to
Right.
that effect. Because we've gotten into the paranormal over the years.
Yeah.
So let me ask
Yeah,
this
that's
question.
the topic of one of my books.
I know in this, the world of pirates and stuff like that, I know y'all deal with legends and folklore and paranormal stuff. Can you elaborate on any of that?
So, I guess what's a more specific question about it? Like, what about it
Have
specifically?
you had an experience like paranormal or any of those things that come up as far as being a pirate or whatever?
So, as far as being a pirate, not necessarily.
Right.
I mean, I've gone out to many of the places that are alleged to be haunted, because again, that's the topic of my first book and my book series. But I've had a weird experience before when I was a kid.
Okay,
Okay.
well, tell us about it.
Sure. Let's see. Hopefully, I won't drag it on for too long.
Oh, you're
so,
good.
You
No,
can drag it on however long you
Right.
want to. You
Okay, so basically, back in Michigan, I lived on a street called 80th Street, Coloma, Michigan, not too far away from South Haven. I basically grew up along the edge of Lake Michigan, which again was like growing up next to the ocean. I mean, you can't see the other side of it.
right.
But anyways, on 80th Street, we lived in this farmhouse. We lived in a farmhouse that was about 200 years old. It was built in the 1860s, something like that. Then there was the neighbor's house, which is where my uncle lived, and then the next house over, when I was around age 10, so around the year 2000, it became vacant, and my mom's brother, so my other uncle from the other side of the family, he moved in along with his at the time girlfriend and her child. Specifically, I'll mention the name because it's important. His name was Jamie Wales. Wales. Important.
Right. Right.
So he moved in. We helped the family move in, and after some time of being there, he was swearing up and down to my mother over coffee, which I overheard. Playing with their son, who was also around 10 years old. He swore up and down that the place was haunted. And I think my mom also kind of believed in paranormal stuff as well.
Right.
I've always been somewhat of a skeptic. I mean, I feel like I have to be, being a history person. But
Right.
in any case, it was interesting to hear. But I didn't actually hear that until after something happened.
Okay.
What had happened was I was playing hide and seek with Jamie,
Okay.
and it was my turn to hide, and I think he was in the back. We started off in the backyard, and I was like, okay, where am I going to hide? And he was counting down, counting loudly enough for me to hear. I'm like,
Right.
okay, the timer's ticking. And I decided to go into the house. I decided to go upstairs. I decided to hide in his bedroom in the corner of the room where there was a child-sized, like, lazy boy,
Okay.
kind of kitty-cornered up against the corner, so there was a triangular section behind it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I can go ahead and hide behind there. So I sat behind there, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I'm like, is he ever going to find me?
Right.
And then eventually, I finally heard him come into the room. I heard him move the chair at the desk in the room. I heard him like open a drawer. I'm like, okay, I don't know why the hell he's looking in. Can I swear?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why the hell he's looking in the dresser or whatever. And I waited, and still nothing. I'm like, okay, well, he didn't check back here. So eventually I got bored. I'm like, okay, it's been like at least 20 minutes.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and come out. I come downstairs, and I guess he's down there eating food. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, I couldn't find you, so I gave up. I'm like, great. I was like, well, you came in the room. He's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, okay. And I noticed that when I came out of the hiding spot, that the drawer was open, and it wasn't open when I went in there.
Right.
Wow.
So, I mean, I can't really explain that.
Right.
But in the aftermath, turns out I didn't find out this until afterwards either. The uncle's girlfriend, she actually got mad because we weren't supposed to go upstairs. And we weren't supposed to go upstairs because they thought that that's where something was living.
Oh, wow.
So it turns out, I found out this in the aftermath, she kept complaining because she kept saying that in the middle of the night, something kept pulling the blanket off of her feet and playing with her feet in the middle of the night. And then the creepiest thing was I also got to overhear, I'm in here in the living room, and they're over there having coffee, the parents. But I guess according to the uncle, he said at one point in time he walked past Jamie's bedroom, the bedroom I was hiding in, and he says that he saw a man sitting on the bed who had the head of a black Labrador dog. And it spoke to him, telling him that he was here for the kid. He was stating that this entity was wanting Jamie Wales.
Right.
Wow.
And, he freaked out. He said he was able to keep his calm, and he conversed with the thing. And then afterwards, he said, looking it up about the history of the house had actually caught fire about 100 years ago, and a family died upstairs. And they were the Wales family. And Jamie Wales is spelled W-A-L-E-S, and the family that perished up there was W-H-A-L-E-S.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And he said that he told the thing, again, this sounds crazy me talking about it.
Right.
He told the thing, he's like, you can't have the kid, that's not your kid, and this, and this, and he said it disappeared. So anyways, about a week later, me and my mom were back over there because they were looking for a new house to move into.
Okay.
After this whole entire hiding debacle.
Right.
They were looking for a new place to move to, and we were instructed to come over and feed the dog while they were gone, because they had gotten a new puppy. They couldn't take the puppy out with them.
Okay.
And whenever you look at the house, when you're at the road, you look out towards the house. On the ground floor, there's a door with a doorknob. That's the doorknob. The door you go into the house, and then the sun sets on the back side of the house.
Okay.
My mom instructed me to stay in the car while she went in to feed the dog. She went up to the front door, and she touched it, and she pulled her hand back real fast. She came back to the car, and she actually had a burn mark on her hand.
Oh, wow.
She doesn't know why. She said the doorknob was blazing hot. The sun was setting on the opposite side of the house and wasn't even shining on the door.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up feeding the dog the next day during the daytime. But that was a weird scenario. I can't explain the burn I saw on her palm.
Right.
And then about 3 days later, we helped them pack up stuff and move again. But during the packing up process, they actually had, I guess in between these two different things going on, they had someone come in and perform an attempted exorcism upstairs.
Wow.
And when we came in, we were told, we're packing up everything, we're moving out of the house, but we're leaving everything upstairs. The TVs, the beds, the clothes, the Nintendo 64, all the stuff. They're like, we're not going back upstairs to bring any of it, we're leaving it. And at the base of the stairs, they actually had a Bible that was open to a very specific page. And they said, do not touch the Bible, don't turn the page, don't go past it, don't touch the railing, don't go upstairs for any reason, we're leaving all of that.
Wow.
So that's my my creepiest paranormal thing I got going on.
Wow. Are your parents, they still live near this place or at?
We continued living, 2 houses away from that for another 6 years beyond that point.
Okay.
And then we eventually moved down here in 2006.
Okay.
So what got you interested in the paranormal?
Probably a combination of that weird experience at age 10, but also I've always liked Halloween. It was always my favorite holiday. So I've always been into all the spooky stuff and all the gothy stuff and anything like that, horror movies. Always been big into all that.
Same.
So,
Same.
so naturally, whenever I got around to getting into pirate history, which is something I latched onto, again after moving down here in 2006, struggling to find something for me to latch onto, like being in a new place. Turns out the thing for me here in Charleston was the fact that it has a lot of pirate history.
Yeah, it does.
So whenever I finally got around to getting deep into what I do now, again in 2018, it was because of Sea of Thieves coming out. Specifically, unfortunately, my mother passed away in 2018.
Sorry to hear.
Sorry.
It was about 3 days before my birthday. So terrible birthday. I got some birthday money. I was like, well, I don't really want anything. I just want my mom back.
Right.
But I saw a friend of mine was playing a pirate game that had just come out. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Sure, I'll go ahead and buy that. I'll find something to lose myself in for now.
Right.
And pretty much I played it rather obsessively. And whenever I wasn't playing it, I was trying to figure out like what else I could do, to rekindle like my interest in pirates as a topic from being a kid. And yeah, it turned out to be Charleston history. Because at the time there was a big tall ship, a Spanish tall ship called Andalusia that was in port here in town at that point in time over from Spain. And I got a chance to go out there onto the ship, and I checked all the different historic sites here in the Charleston area. And I was like, you know what? I really want like a pirate outfit. And I was like, I saw people who were doing cosplay, specifically of Sea of Thieves, which has a very like special, stylized, kind of like animated look to it. And I was like, I would like that, but I want something that's a bit more realistic. And then I realized that's when I discovered that people actually did reenactment regarding this topic in this period. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I want. So I started getting into pirate history. I started getting into getting a pirate outfit put together. And at the time, I was working at Arcadia Publishing, which is still a publishing company, but they had a warehouse open in Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
It was History Press / Arcadia Publishing. If you've ever been to any sort of museum or whatever, in the gift shops, they normally have these small paperbacks. They're about maybe 130 pages or so. They typically have like a sepia cover to it, and it's always this really niche little book about this very specific little town's history.
Right.
That's the company that does it. That's the company I was working for.
Okay.
And eventually they shut down their operation, relocated up to Columbia. But during my time there, I got exposed to just countless history books.
Right.
And I ended up with some history books, of course, along the way. I mean, they had plenty that they were getting rid of. When they were packing up the whole entire warehouse and relocating, they were moving into a print-on-demand style process. Instead of having a warehouse of 80,000 books, there's like, when someone places an order, we'll just print one up and ship it out. And that's the same way that Amazon handles it nowadays, too. So they had a whole bunch of stock that they were getting rid of.
Wow.
But anyways, during my time there, working there, I realized, well, I always tell everybody I accidentally wrote a book. And that happens. One second, I'm going to lean over here and grab my drink.
Oh, roger that, brother. Oh, you good.
You can take that bottle of water right there. Put it right there. You good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I tell everybody I accidentally wrote a book. I guess that happens a lot with history books specifically, because honestly, what it was a collection of my own personal notes. I was trying to dive deeply into everything about the Charleston area history, but not only the history. I was trying to dig into what people believed was history, all the folklore stuff.
Right.
Because there were so many tales about so and so allegedly buried treasure along this river and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, I want to know what was all the stuff that actually happened and what is just like folklore that's been passed down.
Right.
So I started digging into all of that, and I'm not just going to sit here and try and memorize every little detail. I'm going to type it down.
Right.
And yeah, that was for the Charleston area. But there's also only so much history that there is in a specific area when you're talking about a very specific time period.
Right.
We do have a whole bunch between 1670 and 1718, but I was also going out to pirate festivals that were popping up along the coast at other historic places. I was going down to St. Augustine, Florida. I was going up to Beaufort, North Carolina.
Okay, Beaufort.
Yep. And I I went to Hampton, Virginia. I went to Colonial Williamsburg, and I
Wow.
went to Jamestown, Virginia. I was going to all these different historic sites, and I was making the most of my trips. I was trying to not just visit the history sites, but I wanted to know like where alligated places were that something supposedly happened,
Right.
or place that's supposedly haunted by a ghost pirate or whatever. So I was making the most out of my trip. So I was compiling all of that together too.
Okay.
And I had this document. It grew from it grew up to 30 pages to 40 pages to 70 pages. And throughout this point in time, I was also running a page on Facebook called Shipwrecked with Captain Morrow. It's a page I still run to this day. I've been running it now on a daily basis for about 8 years. I post stuff about what happened on this day in pirate history back in 1718 or 1699 or what have you. And at that point in time, I probably had around maybe 7,000 followers, something like that.
Wow.
Which at the time even, I ran the biggest pirate history specific page on all of Facebook.
Wow.
I eventually built up to 15,000, and then I had to restart because I got flagged by by
flag
Facebook's
posts.
system. It got flagged because of like part of pirate history is talking about what happened to them. They're criminals.
Right.
Executions did happen, and I mean more often than not that was done through hanging.
Right.
They were typically hanged at gallows for their crimes at sea. At one point in time, I guess Facebook didn't like a depiction of that happening from like a screenshot from a series called Black Sails.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, you're promoting self-harm. They thought it was like a suicide post thing. So I'm like, God, I gotta start all over. So I started over, and I've built my page back up to 17,000 followers. So I still run the biggest pirate history page on all Facebook.
That's good.
In any case, while I was doing that, I was like, I have this document. It's about 70 pages. And I'm like, there's no reason for me to hoard this information like a dragon. Like
Right.
I have people that follow me that would probably like to see this.
Right.
And I was like, okay, there's no reason for me to not just turn this into a book. So my first book was put together over the course of 4.5 years worth of research. And it took that long because I was simultaneously working on the second book as well.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and grab the first book here. So this here, I'll show it to the camera. This is my first book, Pirate Ghosts and Buried Treasures of the Southeast Coast, a historical assessment on pirate folklore.
That is so awesome.
That is cool.
So basically what I tell everybody is that this book, it relays every single pirate-relevant ghost story and pirate-relevant buried treasure myth from the state of Florida up to the state of Virginia. I go through and I relay every single folklore tale as they are known by people and how they've been perpetuated. And then afterwards, I go in with my own notes talking about the validity of the claim and the actual history of that area that helped spawn that piece of folklore.
So do you try to debunk a lot of this stuff, or?
I don't necessarily aim to debunk, but I mean, if it has been debunked, it is in here.
Okay.
So I do not just present the folklore and be like, come to your own conclusions. Is it real? Is it not? It's up to you. Like, I don't necessarily do that.
Right.
I'm like, here's what everyone says. And afterwards, I'm like,
Who's the
however, this person that they're saying, he couldn't have been here in, 1736. He died 17 years earlier from this thing happening, and so on and so forth.
Got you.
So I go in and explain about that. As a result, I talk about a whole bunch of really obscure things in here that would normally never otherwise find their way into a pirate history book.
Okay.
Like whenever you talk about pirate history books, a lot of the times you're talking about the big figures. You're talking about Blackbeard and Black
Right.
Sam Bellamy and Stede Bonnet and so on and so forth. But there's so many minor pirate characters that don't come up as often.
Right.
And there's a lot of little tiny locations that, they stopped by on like one specific day and they repaired their ship or something.
Right.
Which is almost like a little lost piece of history. It's like that town has never appeared in a pirate history book before, but now it has.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
Because it doesn't matter if it's a long, drawn-out claim that's, ends up being like several pages worth of an entry, or if it's just a simple claim that originates from, say, a real estate website, where they're,
Okay.
They're trying to chalk up their real estate. They're like, you should come out here and buy a house along our beach
Because-
property. Rumor has it Blackbeard
Right.
buried his treasure here back in 17 whatever. And like, yeah, there's literally no sources claiming that before this real estate website. But because the real estate website says that, some people will believe it. And so
Right.
it'll catch word of mouth in that local community, and it'll spread from there. So, I mean, even if it's just a 2-sentence statement, Blackbeard said to bury treasure here. And afterwards, I'm like, but it only appeared on a real estate site. That's a little entry in the book.
Right.
So I didn't leave anything out.
That's awesome.
That is pretty
Have
cool.
Have you yourself doing this research? Have you discovered any hidden treasures?
Not in a physical form.
Okay.
I found what I consider to be, I guess, non-physical treasures. I mean, uncovering small nuggets of history
Right.
and even interesting pieces of folklore that are incredibly obscure. Those always feel rewarding.
Right. I can understand.
I would say that out of everything in that first book, at least, my favorite story actually has to do with here in the Charleston area.
Okay.
Because when I look at this book, this is my first book. It ended up being 350 pages,
That's so awesome.
and it's broken up into chapters. The first chapter is like Florida. The next one's Georgia. Different
Okay.
chapter for each state. I go from bottom to top. And in the Charleston section, it actually has one entry in here that was, to me, the most interesting, the most believable of anything in here. So first off, I mean, there was the premise of like, why do we even talk about pirates and buried treasure? And honestly, when it comes down to it, as far as we know, pirates typically didn't bury treasure,
Right.
because what ended up happening was, they were getting that money and then they were spending it on booze and women and alcohol and sorry, I said booze, drugs,
Right.
and everything else. And a lot of the times they were, just skirting along, making enough money to indulge themselves and keep living to the next week.
Right.
And well, there was one. There's a couple of historical times where we know that pirates buried treasure. The biggest one is in 1699. Captain William Kidd, he buries some treasure off of New York, off on Gardiner's Island. He buries what he had captured from over in the Indian Ocean from attacking a ship called the Quedagh Merchant, and he buried what he could on the island. He even gifted some of it to the only resident on the island, because he was under fear that he was going to be caught and, accused of piracy. It was a very complicated situation that he was in, because he had left London as a pirate hunter. He had been hired to go out and hunt pirates. However, after a very fruitless time at sea, his crew grew restless, and eventually they pressured him into, wanting to commit piracy. According to him, at least, it was the will of the crew and that he went along with it. I mean, you'll say anything to save yourself at the last minute. But in any case, he thought that what he was doing, attacking the Quedagh Merchant, was a legal thing that he could do.
Wow.
It was a very complicated situation. It was what was it? It was an Armenian vessel that was flying a French flag because it was being allowed to go through those waters by the French, but he didn't know that it was being commanded by an English captain. And he had to operate under his own very specific parameters, being a privateer. Basically, being allowed to go out and hunt down these pirates, and he was not supposed to attack English vessels and
Right.
stuff like that. Working on behalf of England. Either way, very complicated thing. He was afraid that he was going to be captured and held accountable for piracy, which ultimately he would be. But beforehand, he buried some stuff on Gardiner's Island so that if he ever found himself in court, which he would about to be finding himself in court, he could be able to use it as a leveraging point.
Okay.
Bottom line is, it backfired on him. They basically just dug it up and used it as evidence against him. But it was verifiable proof that this pirate, unbeknownst to anybody else, had gone out to this obscure little random island and he buried a whole bunch of treasure out there.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you have everybody else suddenly asking, he did this. Did anyone else do this?
Right.
So all of a sudden, all around the world, every single area that touched a body of water, every little island along every coast
Right.
was now under suspicion that pirates might have been here and might have buried treasure. It started what was called the New England treasure hunting craze.
Wow.
Like people were just going nuts, digging absolutely everywhere as soon as that happened in 1699. But yeah. Anyways, back to what I found interesting here about the Charleston area was basically Isle of Palms. If
Okay.
if I had to point out anywhere that I'm semi-convinced that I think something might be there after now 6+ years worth of research and digging into Charleston area and having thoroughly researched this for my book, there was a Spanish privateer that set sail out of St. Augustine around 1740 or 1740s, and he was hauling stuff back to Spain. However, due to a storm, he wrecked upon Hunting Island off the coast of South Carolina, which Hunting Island back then was Isle of Palms.
Okay.
He was spotted by some English sailors who were on their way sailing up to Georgetown. Georgetown existed during that point in time. It was a very small community. They basically just had a little tavern and a couple of houses, but there were some sailors going from Charleston up to Georgetown. They noted that there was this Spanish ship stuck up on the shore. And when they got to they got to a tavern named Grimbeck's Tavern. I assume named after someone named Grimbeck. He rallied some people to go down and check out the shipwreck because, I mean, I believe at the time the Spanish were treated as an enemy.
Okay.
So they went down there and they found the survivors and the ship. They rounded them up and pulled them back down into Charlestown. And afterwards, there was a court case that took place regarding the captain. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there was a court case regarding him. And according to him, after they had wrecked, but before they had been rounded up, they had actually hidden what they were carrying, at least the majority of it, at the northern end of the island, so the northern end of Isle of Palms,
Right.
along with some instructions about how you would go about finding it.
Wow.
And the last time that anyone ever heard anything about that court case, there was someone who volunteered to go back out there with some of the captive Spanish to see if they could go find it. And the probate judge, he had dictated like what they would be allowed to keep and what would go to Charlestown and stuff like that. And then basically that story just ceased to exist afterwards. And the only reason we know about any of this happening is those records. Again, they went missing. They arrived. They arose. They arised. They popped up again, and they popped up again in the early 20th century when someone was going through their ancestors' belongings. It was the probate judge. He had actually compiled that court case that he had done regarding that. And he was planning on at one point in time publishing it because it was an interesting thing. However, he never got into publishing it before he died in like the 1920s. So those papers and proof of that happening from the court records was just missing up until the 1920s. As far as I know, nothing's been found. But it was a very interesting story. A lot of the times, like I said, you'll end up with these folklore tales that pop up as a result of a real estate website trying to sell some land, but every now and then you end up with something from
that's tangible.
Tangible, at least semi-credible sources. I mean, we don't know if the probate judge was making this up or if he fabricated the documents, but I mean, it's at least coming from a semi-reputable figure, a probate judge that we knew, held, rule over a court of law here in Charlestown, and he was a verifiable person that we know existed. And I want to say his last name was Gleason.
Okay.
But
That's
Wow.
cool.
That is awesome. That is so interesting.
So what made you decide what year or that you would go for being a pirate? Was it because of the history or information or?
It's mostly so whenever you talk about the golden age of piracy, that's typically a timeline that's broken up into roughly 1650 to 1730. That's roughly the time frame you're talking about there.
Almost 100 years.
Yeah. And when you really talk about it, that's kind of broken up into two different categories. There's before 1700 and there's after 1700.
Okay.
Before 1700 is typically referred to as like the buccaneering age. And that was essentially a time period where a lot of what we now call pirates, they were going out as legal English privateers. Again, privateering was essentially you went to your nation, you signed a paper with them, and they're cool with you being a pirate going forward as long as you don't attack ships of their nation.
Right.
And typically, and that piece of paper is called a letter of marque. That would only be issued during wartime. So whenever you're at war with someone, the best way to bolster your own navy is by conscripting private vessels in that way. So, I mean, building a ship was a arduous thing,
Right.
a very complicated procedure, costed a ton of money. And of course, you got to pay all the people, all the crew, and all that. So, I mean, whenever you're at constant war with the Dutch or France or what have you, Spain, a lot of the times, it was hard to have enough naval power spread all over. I mean, England was trying to establish 13 colonies along the was now the American coast, North American coast, and Spain had pretty much conquered all of like South America. They had determined it to be their new land, New Spain, the Spanish Main.
Right.
And England basically wanted to try to, put a halt to that. They're like, why are they allowed to go down there and just claim all this without anyone interfering? So their best answer was to just let all these private vessels harass the Spanish. They're like, here's a piece of paper. We're not going to call you a pirate. Go do whatever the hell you want to the Spanish down there.
Wow.
And that led to just a whole entire force of people going out there and just attacking Spanish ships. Of course, the Spanish, they don't care if you have a piece of paper or not. As far as they're concerned, you're a pirate.
Right.
It's like, whether or not you have that piece of paper, what you're doing to them is still piracy.
Right.
So what made you decide on what year you wanted to
Right.
do it?
So basically, that era I find to be more exciting.
Okay.
So after the big deal is all of that happens, and then there's a huge war that happens from 1702 to 1711, or 1713, one of the two, Queen Anne's War, also known as the War of Spanish Succession. And during that point in time, they hired a ton of privateers from every nation. Every nation was hiring privateers to bolster their naval forces. And what happens all the time is whenever a war concludes, all of a sudden your letter of marque doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So you end up with a crew of people who were trained to go out and attack and plunder ships. And then all of a sudden, that was fine yesterday, but then all of a sudden today, it's like, stop right now.
Right.
You can't do this anymore. If you do this today, you'll be a pirate. And, the sailors, they're like, what are we going to do? And they're like, I don't know, you can stop doing this. You can become a farmer. You can become merchants.
Right.
You can do this, this, and this. But the thing is, they lived lives as sailors. They knew how to sail. They knew how to attack ships.
Right.
They didn't know how to be farmers.
Right.
And they didn't have the connections to be set up as merchants.
Right.
So a lot of the times, they're just like, all right, well, I guess we'll just keep doing what we know how to do. And, of course, they become pirates at that point. So in the aftermath of Queen Anne's War is the rise of some of the most famous pirates. That's where we get Blackbeard and Black Sam Bellamy and Stede Bonnet and Charles Vane and a whole bunch of, like, big names. But honestly, what those pirates were accomplishing after around 1715 to 1730 was, I would say, small-time crime. They were the pirates that I was mentioned before who were scraping by from day to day. They're attacking small merchant vessels. They're attacking fishing ships. Just small-time stuff because they don't want to attack these big warships. They run these small little vessels that are overpacked with men, and they just want you to surrender. That was actually the point of having a pirate flag, or a black flag, or according to some people, a Jolly Roger. The idea behind flying that was basically an issue saying, like, just surrender, give us all your stuff, and there won't be any violence.
Right.
That was the point of hoisting the black flag was, please just give up. that was the point of it. And like I said, these pirates weren't necessarily walking away with a fortune. They were scraping by day to day. But during the buccaneering age, leading up to 1700, you had fleets of pirate vessels that were operating together. You had hundreds or thousands of men who were rallying together, and they were attacking Spanish warships, and they were landing their forces ashore and trekking through the jungles of Panama and sacking Spanish settlements and cathedrals and pulling out hauls of Peruvian gold.
Wow.
It was, I would say it's more big and more epic. If you were looking to make a blockbuster film between one era and the other, 1715 and onwards, you have these big notable names that we know of in history books, but honestly, the actions that took place during the buccaneering age was like grand and epic scale.
Oh wow.
I see.
So
And-
what shaped you to become the pirate you are, that you began to be into where you're at now?
I'm not sure if I have a great answer. I mean, initially, like I said, I got into wanting a pirate outfit to begin with because I wanted to go out to history sites. I wanted to do photo shoots and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I really want it to be worth it. I was like, I don't want to invest all this money into something and it not, pay off.
Right.
So I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a YouTube channel. So I started a YouTube channel, and it didn't necessarily take off at the speed I was hoping it would.
Gotcha.
So what I decided to do was to set up a Facebook page to promote the YouTube page.
Gotcha.
Turns out I was able to rack up more of a following way faster on Facebook, and turns out I enjoyed writing all the posts and stuff more so than sitting down and recording the video
I got you.
and doing all the editing and stuff. I mean, I like doing editing, honestly. It's just it took off faster, so I got used to writing stuff.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, I got used to wanting to do writing as content, and again, I was traveling all the places, and I was building up the audience and all that stuff. So yeah, eventually, I just made a name for myself of it, and of course, when I finally published my first book, which again was this one here, which I published in 2023. At that point, it opened up some more opportunities because these different places I was going out to, now I could also go out to, author events. I could set up at other places with just an author book. One of the things I haven't really touched upon is also I'm a reenactor. We briefly touched on it at the very beginning about the clothes, but I actually lead a pirate reenactment crew based out of the Charleston area called the Crew of the Bachelor's Delight. And we go out we go out to historic sites, and we go out to history festivals, and we set up displays with artifacts and replicas and all that type of stuff, and we educate the public.
Are you all dressed up?
Oh yeah, the whole entire crew.
How
that is cool.
how far are you willing to travel for events?
Typically, we go up along the coast as far as Wilmington, North Carolina, and we go as far down along the coast, about halfway through Georgia. Halfway through Georgia, there's a place called Fort King George, and there's also Wormslow Plantation. Both of those offer history events throughout the year that we can go out and be a part of. But that's about as far as we can typically do as a day trip. We have a family of cats we take care of at home. And it's always hard to find a pet sitter to go out on trips that take us further, requiring like overnight stay.
How many cats y'all have?
We actually run a cat rescue.
Oh wow.
So we have, more than 8 cats. It fluctuates.
That's awesome.
But yeah, when we go out, like I said, we talk about artifacts and replicas and stuff. So one of the things I brought with me, I'm sure you've been wondering why you have a rock sitting on your
Yes,
couch.
when they came in the house, we thought that they
go ahead
were
and pull it up.
bringing a rock to bust us in the head, so we had to be sure that it
Absolutely
wasn't for
not.
that.
All right, so one of the reasons why that rock is even in your house now
Right.
is whenever a ship leaves port, typically the bottom of the ship is full of cargo. And that weight at the bottom of the ship, here's the mast, makes it to where it can't tip over. It's bottom heavy
Okay.
because of all the weight down there. And after you go to the next port and you unload all that cargo, you are now lacking all the weight in the bottom of the ship. So it has to have a certain amount of weight in it, to safely stay upright.
Gotcha.
So after you load up some cargo, you need to fill up the excess with ballast stone. So ballast stone were basically rocks. You get them out of a quarry, and you fill up the ship to add up to all the weight that you need.
Gotcha.
And whenever a rock is down in the bottom of those ships, going back and forth like this, it's essentially a rock tumbler. So over the course of time, the rocks become nice and smooth. And we know that this here is specifically a ballast stone that traveled back and forth on ships prior to 1708.
Oh, wow.
We know that specifically because if you see along the edge here, see that dark line?
I do.
That is because the rock spent about 300 years as one of the stones for the streets of downtown Charleston.
Dang, that rock older than me. Everybody in this
Oh
house.
wow.
Yeah, so that's the line where it was down in the earth for about
Gotcha.
300
Wow.
years. So what ended up happening was in Charleston, they initially settled at Charlestown Landing, which is now in modern-day West Ashley,
Right.
but the natives encouraged them to move down to the peninsula, current-day Charleston. And after they moved there, one of the problems that they faced for their early 30 years from 1670 they moved down there in 1780 to 1708, they had a real issue with the mud and the muck of the peninsula. You know that every time it rains here, Charleston floods.
Yes, sir.
And that was even more of a pain when you had horse-drawn carriages, like the main problem down there. That gets stuck in the mud even
All
easier
the
than a
ti-
car.
Right.
Not to mention, people's fine shoes and their finery was getting all messed up. So they're like, okay, we don't have any quarries here in the Low Country. We can't actually produce nice cobblestone. We can't get nice flat stones like we want, like there's back home in England. However, in every port, there was just piles and piles and piles of ballast stone from the ships. So they're like, you know what? Screw it. It's better than nothing. So they took all the ballast stones and they paved the streets of Charleston. Again, this was around 1708.
Wow.
And yeah, at our current date, I believe we have 3 different cobblestone streets that are now still, left intact downtown for people
Right.
to see. One of them is Chalmers Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this stone here came from when they were doing repair.
Wow.
But yeah, so this is a ballast stone. It traveled back and forth, probably back and forth to Barbados, maybe back and forth across the Atlantic. Who knows how many times before it eventually ended up in Charleston for the last time.
That
in
is
your
wow.
hands, huh?
Yeah. So a neat little piece of history, and this is a nice piece that you can bring out to stuff. You can even let someone hold this, and they're not going to break it.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's
Right. Right.
awesome.
Right.
The same can't be said for when I bring out stuff like this. I can't let other people hold this in public. You guys can hold this.
Right. Right. That is
but-
nice.
So this one here, and for that matter, this guy here, these are my functional flintlocks. So this guy here, this is an English dog lock. They started making these around the 1620s, 1630s. These guns would have been everywhere in Jamestown, Virginia.
Yes, sir.
And initially, this was designed as a cavalry weapon. If you were on horseback, on either side of the saddle, you would have one of these like this. And this is a one-handed pistol.
Oh, wow.
This hand here would be holding the reins,
Right.
and then this hand here, you would hold the gun sideways like this to steady it and shoot it from horseback. But the thing is, a gun is still a gun. It quickly found its way aboard ships, and people really favor them aboard ships because this hand doesn't have to hold the reins anymore. You can actually hold it with 2 hands and actually aim the thing now,
Right.
which is good to be able to use for a gun. But then also, guns, when you're talking about naval combat, boarding combat, it's not like Civil War or Revolutionary War. You don't get a chance to do rank and file combat. You don't get to sit there and reload while your buddy covers you. Guns
why-
are a one and done.
Right. That's why you had so many.
Yeah, that's why you bring extra. And afterwards, they become a club. So this
Right.
gun here becomes a hell of a club. Dutch sailors kept using these all the way up until around the 1750s, even though by that point in time it was an antique design.
Right.
And then this guy here, again, you could flip this around. This is a club as well. You could probably throw this at someone better. But this one here is a Queen Anne flintlock.
Okay.
So initially, this one here was designed around 1680, but it derives its name from its popularity during Queen Anne's War from 1702 to 1711. And this was an experimental gun designed for Royal Navy sailors.
Oh, wow.
You can notice right here that there's no ramrod. The
Right.
ramrod is what you typically use to pack your shot in.
Yes, sir.
This one here was a new type where my gun doesn't have this function, but the barrel's supposed to screw off. When it screws off, you can pack all your shot directly into the end of it, and then screw it on and you're ready to go for a faster reload.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
But the problem was it was considered to be a failure. It was a failure for the Royal English sailors because, first off, you're fumbling around with a cylindrical object on a ship rocking back and forth. If you drop it, it's gone forever. If you don't have the barrel, you
Right.
can't really shoot your gun. You also can't hold it like this as a club. You also
Right.
don't have a good place to hold it to throw it at somebody. But the biggest problem was the threading was right here where the black powder explosion happened. This gun was more likely to explode and blow your hand off than any other gun on the market.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So naturally, they didn't stop making it. They didn't make it safer. They just sold it to the public. They sold it to the public as a cheap, crappy gun.
So you can hurt yourself.
Right. It was a cheap, crappy gun. So because of that, this gun was absolutely everywhere. That's why this gun is the most popular gun throughout the golden age of piracy.
Oh, wow.
Because it
Wow.
was a piece of crap.
I didn't know that.
So this thing here, it was like a gentleman's pocket pistol is the way it was advertised.
Okay.
If you had a big frock coat with a big deep pocket, it's
Right.
enough to stick it in there, and the handle still sticks out a little bit.
Right.
But if you were, a gentleman walking through the streets of downtown Charleston or London or Barbados or what have you, and you wanted something for protection, you can get this gun. It's a cheap gun. I mean, first off, what are the odds you're actually going to get jumped in an alleyway? When you are, what are the odds you're actually going to have to pull it on the person? And when you do, what are the odds you're actually going to have to pull the trigger and try to shoot them?
Right.
And when you do, what are the chances that's going to be the one time it would have blown your hand off?
Right.
So chances are you're probably fine. You're not firing it day in and day out.
Right. Right.
But still, this gun was absolutely everywhere.
That is awesome.
Wow. So a lot of blown off hands, huh?
I'm sure. Yeah, there's that if you'd like to hold
What's
it.
the accuracy of this one?
wow.
So that is a 60 caliber smoothbore. It's accurate out to about maybe 60 feet, maybe to 90
60 feet? Okay,
Yeah.
60 to 90 feet.
Yeah,
This
it's
thing is
awesome.
heavy.
This
Yep.
is awesome.
yeah, one-handed pistol.
That's the
This
ones
is
you see on TV, guys.
Yep. Yeah, that one and this one were both fired on Discovery Channel.
Okay.
Oh wow. Oh, so it still can fire.
Yes.
Oh
Yep.
wow, that
Can
is
still fire.
well,
I-
yeah, you can take your gun back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
wanna
I don't
break
have
that.
lead shot for this guy here, but I do have 50 caliber lead shot for the Queen Anne flintlock, and I have 4 pounds of black powder at the house for them.
Yeah, this thing
Wow.
kinda heavy.
This is
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, those are nice.
This is awesome. And this barrel would unscrew from here.
Right. That
Wow.
reproduction doesn't have that as
I
a
got you.
safety concern.
I got you. That is awesome, though.
But yeah.
Look like y'all hair got caught up in there. Y'all ain't trying to knock
Oh, there's a
nobody
piece of hair
out.
in there.
It's several.
Oh, yeah, it's all good. It is all good.
Be like,
But yeah,
"Huh?"
so that's some of the type of stuff that we go out and we talk about. One of the other things we talk about, like I said, the name of our reenactment crew is the Crew of the Bachelor's Delight, and that's, I mean, first off, I always thought that was a fun name.
Right.
It's
I was gonna ask about the name.
It sounds
yeah.
like a stripper name.
Yeah. So the Bachelor's Delight, that was actually the name of a real pirate ship.
Oh, wow.
The reason why we adopted it is because of actual Charleston history, and that was the premise of my 4th book, which is, I'll hold it for the camera first. This is Arabian Gold, Charleston's Red Sea Pirates of 1692, being the true tale of Captain George Rayner and the crew of the Bachelor's Delight.
Oh, wow.
So what happened, a brief TLDR of what the book is essentially a pirate crew left Port Royal, Jamaica after they captured a French frigate named... a French frigate.
Right. Yeah.
I'm blanking on it for some reason. They captured a French frigate. It was deemed to be a good and legal capture. They renamed it to the Royal Jamaica.
Okay.
And then after they set sail out of Port Royal, they pretty much immediately mutinied. They elected one of the crew members, George Rayner, as the captain, and they went off to the west coast of Africa, where they plundered Spanish and Portuguese ships in the Cape Verde Islands and the Canary Islands. Then they took it around the southern tip of Africa, around Cape Good Hope, and up into the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. In the Arabian Sea, they plundered a ship that belonged to a man named Abdul Ghaffar. He was the wealthiest man of the Mughal Empire that controlled India during the time period.
Oh, wow.
And once they divvied that treasure amongst themselves, every single man on board had $2.1 million worth of Arabian gold.
Wow.
But they didn't know what to do with it. Like, okay, we made it big. What do we do? Where do we go to get away with
I would have
this?
found a way to spend it.
So they knew that at that point in time, there was a criminal named Adam Baldridge who had set up a pirate haven off the coast of Madagascar on a small island called St. Mary's. They were technically Adam Baldridge's first customer of his operations there. And he had a perfect beach for careening, which is basically being able to bring your ship ashore, tip it on its side. That way you can clean the hull, scrape it of barnacles and seaweed and all the stuff that tend to it. And they spent a month there during December trying to figure out where they could go to get away with being pirates. The answer was Charlestown, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
When they'd left Port Royal, they knew that there was a corrupt man named Seth Sothel, who was the ex-governor of North Carolina. He had been kicked out of North Carolina for interacting in favorable ways with criminals. And when they kicked him out of North Carolina, he showed up to Charlestown and he basically lied to them and said, "Hey, I've been sent here to be your new governor." And people just let him be the governor.
Oh wow.
What?
And these pirates were aware of that when they left. So like, we can probably get away with it in Charlestown because of Seth Sothel.
Right.
And when they came back, Seth Sothel was no longer in office when they got here in 1692. But thankfully, the next governor was just as corrupt. So when these men showed up, and when they were off committing piracy, they had also, after the mutiny, changed the name of the ship from Royal Jamaica, and they committed piracy under the name of the Bachelor's Delight. When they came back, they claimed again to be sailors of the Royal Jamaica. That's what their letter of marque said.
Right.
We're legal privateers who have done totally nothing wrong
Right.
of the Royal Jamaica. So they showed up, and Charleston was suspicious at first, but these men slowly trickled into the town after they'd parked their ship on the backside of Bull Island.
Okay.
And eventually, there was like a decree put out saying, "We just want to talk to you, sailors. If you can come in and state your business, why you've come here, this, and this. We know some of your names." They're like, if you can present yourself and present your case, things might be okay.
Right.
So of the crew, 26 of them did come forward, including Captain George Rayner. Something happened. Some sort of thing happened in a court case. And mysteriously, those documents are missing from April 1692 until September 1692.
Oh wow.
And in the aftermath, none of these pirates get in trouble. The captain, he purchases the entirety of Kiowa Island. He marries the governor's daughter and becomes a member of high society in downtown Charlestown.
That's how you do it. That's how
He
you do it.
he became part of a board that had some say about how things were developing in town. He advocated for the creation of the Half Moon Battery on the edge of Charlestown's port and the fortification of it, and so on and so forth. Some of the other members of this crew, one of them was Robert Fenwick, and he had reached out to his brother John Fenwick in London after he got off for being a pirate in Charlestown and said, "Hey, this place is pretty awesome. You should come here."
Right.
When his brother John comes over, they together build Fenwick Hall Plantation, which is now on John's Island.
Roger
Oh
that.
wow.
What was it? Another one of them, another member of the crew was Peter Ory, and his descendant would be Daniel Ory, who would go off and help Francis Marion during the Revolutionary War, and Ory County is named after them.
Roger that.
Oh wow.
That's all because great-grandfather got away with being a pirate.
That is great.
And another member of the crew was... I'm trying to remember his first name.
Roger that.
It's right here.
Take your time.
I got a list of everybody who turned themselves in. And
That's so cool though to learn stuff like that.
there we go.
Yeah, your knowledge is crazy.
His name is Thomas Pinckney.
Oh, okay.
Thomas Pinckney was a
Roger
member of
that.
the crew of the Bachelor's Delight. He was one of the pirates. And then his great-grandson would sign the U.S. Constitution
Roger that.
here in Charleston. And he would also have 16 descendants, all of whom would become 16 different governors of South Carolina.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
All because, great-granddaddy got away with being a
Piracy.
pirate in Charleston.
That is so crazy.
And if you go into downtown Charleston nowadays, you go to every single historic site, you pick up everything in all the gift shops, you'll never hear the name George Rayner, Bachelor's Delight, Royal Jamaica, or what happened in 1692. The whole entire thing was completely swept underneath the rug. For whatever reason, I'm the first person to actually sit down and compile it all together and write a book about it since the 300 years that it happened.
Wow.
The book is now finally being carried in downtown Charleston at the Old Exchange and Provost Dungeon. So
That's
now
awesome.
I technically can't say that if you go downtown you can't find out about it, because now you can because of my book.
Right. That's awesome, though.
How do you research or find your information about these things that's happening
So
or has happened?
at first I was just really good at using Google.
Right.
But after years of doing it, you're able to pinpoint credible sources. Pretty much that whole entire book is written off of primary sources, all of which thankfully nowadays almost all primary sources have been, or just about, have been digitized. So you can access most of what you need online.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why it's kind of like anyone can kind of pick up the topic of history and like eventually train themselves to be a historian, which is what I've done, is because it's out there.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You just need to know how to find it, and you need to know how to cite your sources correctly and identify what's credible and what's not, and so on.
Roger
Oh,
that.
cool.
Would you, or would your, I guess your group, ever, I guess, teach a person to become a pirate?
You
If somebody wanted to do what you do.
okay? I was like, be an actual sailor, commit actual piracy. I mean,
we ain't gonna
know
do
how
all
people,
that.
we know how people did it, but we don't have that experience.
We don't really go out in the boat.
I do have a friend who built a boat. I have a friend who
that's
built a period boat up in Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. He built
That's cool.
a 17th century, 18th century style sloop.
Wow.
But yeah, we're always open to people joining in and coming out and being a part of events with us. But at this point in time, I have enough loaner clothing and in a variety of sizes that if someone just wants to come out, and you don't even have to do anything with us on like the first time. Just
Right.
just hang around. Just be a pirate. Be set dressing.
Right.
Just hang out with us. Sip on a drink. Take some pictures with people if they want your picture.
Right.
Like there's no obligation to really do anything. I'll do all the heavy lifting.
Right. Right.
Do y'all hear that, guys? Y'all can
Yeah.
participate and become a pirate.
Yeah, pirate reenactor.
Yeah.
Pirate reenactor.
And the people who get more involved with it, they typically get around to the point of developing their own table displays.
Okay.
So I mean, I have my own display. I've got a stack of books, and then I have like my weapons I talk about. I have some chain shot and some cannonballs, and I have some other
Oh,
artifacts.
wow.
That's cool.
I have period maps. I talk about navigation at sea. I have some old navigational tools that were used during the time period. But we have another person who sets up, and she has a table with a medical display where she talks about being a ship surgeon and the types of herbs and medicines that would have been used at the time, and talking about how amputations were done and stuff like that. We have another person who sets up a table and talks about period writing with quill and ink pen, and how letters were done and how they folded and stuff to mail out letters and stuff.
That is wild.
We have another person who sets up with the table talking about life at sea, where they bring out examples of like hardtack and other types of food that were used aboard ships, and talk about, this is what basically our sailor ration would look like, and so on and so forth.
Oh, wow. That is interesting.
What would a sailor's ration look like?
Not good. Yeah. So the best thing you could hope for is fresh caught fish. It wasn't very often you got a chance to go ashore, but when you do, I mean, you do try to hunt when you can.
Right.
Wild boar and stuff like that. At one point in time, there was actually a Christmas dinner that was had, I want to say when was that? 1706, 1708, something like that, where a crew, they were pretty desperate, and they didn't find any wild game to hunt on shore. So they actually cooked up and ate their cocker spaniel that they had with them. One of the crew had a cocker spaniel dog, and he became Christmas dinner.
That sounds disgusting.
It does. I can't imagine it tasted great, or that there was enough meat to go around for the whole crew. But somebody got some cocker spaniel nuggets.
Oh my God,
And
that's
fur,
wild.
too, if they didn't shave it or anything like that.
That is wild.
Is there any significance to the feathers and stuff you have on your hat?
It's mostly just decorative. So when we talk about fashion during this time period, a lot of fashion is dictated by nobility.
Right.
The reason why we have people in this period even like wearing waistcoats, which is the thing I have on over top of my long sleeve shirt, is because King Charles, he was fascinated by waistcoats that were being worn over in India. And he started wearing one. So, when the king starts wearing it, it becomes in fashion. Everyone starts wearing them.
Gotcha.
The same thing for frock coats, and the same thing for feathers and hats and all that type of stuff. So it's just because nobility was doing it, because a very specific influential person decided that they liked it.
Gotcha.
And just caught on.
Gotcha.
That being said, the reason why the hat I have is pinned up on the one side, which is called being cocked up. I have it cocked up on one side.
Okay.
When you talk about a tricorner hat, that's actually a hat that's been pinned up on 3 different sides,
right.
and that makes a tricorn.
Yes, sir.
It wouldn't be called a tricorn until later on. It would just be called a cocked hat. But I have a cocked hat. It's cocked on one side, and this was the side that they started cocking it on. they did that because when you have a sword and you're swinging around right-handed, if you're a right-handed person,
Got you.
you don't want to hit your own hat.
Got you.
If you were left-handed, you would
was
pin up the left side.
set. Got
But most
you.
people were right-handed, so the right-hand side gets pinned up.
Wow.
Because you didn't
That
want
is
to knock
so.
yourself out or hurt yourself, right?
That is so cool. The little small things that you learn.
Yeah, and like some of the other stuff I have stuff like even tucked away that you can't see. So, like I have a necklace here. This here is an Angus Diden a shark tooth on top of a coin. This is not a real coin. This is a replica, a direct cast from a coin from the Atocha shipwreck off the coast of Key West, which wrecked around, I want to say, 1650s. And then the other thing I have here, this here is a Tuareg cross. And basically, this is a type of jewelry that would have made its way over into the Caribbean throughout the transatlantic slave trade. Because, like it or not, that's a significant piece of history during this time period.
Right.
Is when you talk about pirates and the acquisition of cargo and, exporting cargo and stuff, like the slave trade was a thing.
Right.
And people did bring over traditions and, for that matter, artwork and jewelry and stuff from the African coast. So the Tuareg cross originates from, I believe, the northern section of Ghana.
Okay.
And it was, I want to say there's either 12 or 13 different Tuareg tribes over there that have their own distinct type of Tuareg cross. And essentially, it was like a good luck charm. It was to protect against the evil eye. It was meant to basically just be good luck. So this here is something that's a type of jewelry that would have made its way over into the Caribbean.
And I take it that pirates, I guess, were involved in the Atlantic slave trade.
Absolutely.
Roger that.
Again, I mean, I don't try to sugarcoat this for anybody. I mean,
Right.
I don't adore pirates and idolize them as heroes. I acknowledge the fact that what I'm talking about is criminal history.
Understood.
Like, I don't idolize these people. I'm like, these were admittedly terrible people most of the time. A few of them, were into piracy because they didn't have any other choice. They were forced into the lifestyle, but some people decided to really lean into it, and some of them were straight up malicious people.
Right.
But yes, when you talk about it, like, for example, we have Blackbeard. You've heard of Blackbeard. Most people have.
Yes, sir.
He's the second most famous pirate behind Jack Sparrow.
Roger that.
Jack Sparrow has superseded...
Everybody.
Yeah, he has superseded actual history. So Blackbeard, when he finally captures what would be his flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, that was him capturing a slaver vessel out of the port of Whydah on Africa, and it was called La Concorde. And when he captured it, I do not remember the amount of enslaved that were on it, but it was a large number. And immediately afterwards, so one of the things that you get when you talk about pirate history is there is a modern narrative that is perpetuated since probably around the 90s, maybe early 2000s, about pirates not being ableist, accepting anybody regardless of race, gender, skin color, being very LGBTQ plus friendly, all that. However, the reality of it is that is a modern narrative that's being pushed pretty hard.
Right.
The reality of the situation is that, yes, probably over 50% of most pirate vessels were crewed by African crew members. But the truth of it is they were not treated as equals. They were treated as lesser sailors.
Yes, sir.
That being said, the whole entire claim of them being, friendly with the concept of, being gay and all that type of stuff, that was very much so frowned upon during that time period. Religion was still very strong, and even many pirates during the time period were devoutly religious.
Right.
Being atheistic was something that was uncommon. Most of them, they would continue to pray. Some of them would read from the Bible. They believed that they were still a good person and that they're being criminals, but maybe if they continue to be devout, that they'll be forgiven afterwards.
Right.
Whereas other ones, they believed in God and stuff, but they had also accepted the fact that they felt like they were a lost cause. Like, okay, well, I'm already in it so deep, doesn't matter, screw it.
Right.
But regardless of all that, Blackbeard, whenever he captures La Concorde, yes, he keeps most of them on as crew members, but he does sell a number of the enslaved cargo. And then later on, you can tell the way that he values them, because later on in North Carolina, when he's in need of money, he just sells off some of his crew.
Oh,
So pirate ships were not necessarily the utopia that modern narratives are kind of pushing for.
I can, yeah.
so question for you: do you have any kids?
I do not. I just have the fur babies.
The fur babies.
Babies. Oh.
Is
Oh.
is your significant other? Is she into this pirates?
Yes, she is. She is very supportive of this. She's actually the editor of my books.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
She goes out with me when we go out and do the reenactment setups. She has an outfit as well that she sets up. She sets up with, and she talks about herbs and spices and stuff that were
Okay.
plundered from vessels coming from the Ottoman Empire and the Mughal Empire and stuff like that.
So is she the medical person on
No,
your-
that's someone else.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So yeah, we have her with the herbs and spices, and we've got the medical person, we got the writing person, we got the food person. Talk about weapons and stuff like that.
How many people are on your crew?
Roughly about 10 to 12 people. I mean, it's always hard to get people together though to be available on the same day. So we usually average having about 3 to 4 people together to come out and do events. It's still something significant for people to look at.
Right. How long usually is the time frame for your event? You know, how long was it run?
So a lot of the times, whenever we do these events out at places, they're usually historic sites or they're at museums. So a lot of the times it's, their operating
Doing
hours.
Got you.
It's usually from like 10 a.m. till 4 p.m.
Okay.
That's on average. It's not very often you get a historic site that stays open till 5 or afterwards.
Okay.
We did a fun Halloween event though. We did a fun Halloween event at Beaufort, South Carolina, back in October called I want to say it's called Haunted Hallows.
Okay.
They had us set up, and it was so wonderful to be able to set up and do a nighttime event for once.
That's
We were
cool.
able to set up at 3 or 4 in the afternoon instead of daybreak, and
Right.
we got to pack up and it was nice and cool.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the times, I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt and a waistcoat, and sometimes I have a frock coat on over this, and it'll be 95 degrees out, and the heat index says it's 108.
Right.
Oh,
I
And
can imagine.
by 4 p.m., I'm like,
Everything's like melted.
and that's another thing is when you talk about like what is being worn by these pirates that we're portraying, according to like weather reports from the 1680s and stuff, like
Right.
it was cooler then.
Okay.
When you're talking about the Caribbean, it's like there was a sea breeze constantly going over the islands,
Right.
and of course you're on a ship. There's a sea breeze, but then also you look at some of the weather records, and it's like it's mid-August. Today it was a sweltering like 83 degrees,
Wow.
and now we get like 115,
Right,
120.
Right.
But you'd be thankful for the breeze.
Right.
Oh, wow.
The 20
Right.
degrees makes a difference, I swear. But yeah, she's very supportive of it. Again,
That's amazing.
I don't have any kids, but I do actually list one of my cats as my co-author. Not in this one.
Your muse, huh?
Yeah, but in the Northeast Coast book. I have 5 books out now. I haven't even said this. I have 5 books. I have Pirate Ghosts and Buried Treasures of the Southeast Coast. It was the first of the series. I wrote that while I was also writing Northeast Coast, which tackles from Maryland up to Maine.
Okay.
Same premise, relaying the folklore tales and talking about the validity of them. Again, history book, just using folklore as a jumping off point. The
Gotcha.
3rd book in that series was Atlantic Canada, where I tackle all the Canadian provinces. Then I went on my way and made Arabian Gold because it's very relevant for where we are and the premise of our crew. And then my newest book is this one here, which is Pirate Ghosts and Buried Treasures of Coco's Island, Historical Assessment on Pirate Folklore. And this book here, this is a remote island out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's about 300 miles off the coast of Costa Rica and about 400 miles northeast of the Galapagos Islands.
Oh wow.
So it's just out there in the
Right.
absolute middle of nowhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
There was enough to write about it for an entire book, though. The island is 5 miles wide by 2 miles long, but there's
Wow.
enough to stock a whole book.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And that's the one that your cat is in, or?
Yes. So my cat's name is Gobi, Gobi.
Gobi.
But
Any significance?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
Okay.
believe that Ava named him after the Gobi Desert.
Okay.
And I was like, "Why'd you pick Gobi?" And she's like, "Oh, he's like, I think he just told me his name was Gobi, and I rolled with it." I'm like, "That's fine, it's fitting." But for whatever reason, we've also jokingly called him Cocopi.
Okay.
Anyways, when I finally wrote a book about Coco's Island, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and acknowledge him in the acknowledgement section.
That's awesome.
And then for Northeast Coast and this one, I have co-author. In this case, I have Gobi Coco P. Morrow.
Oh, that is
That's
so
cute.
cute. You see, he has all these books, y'all. When he gives you his information at the end of this, make sure y'all go out and
Check
buy
him
it.
out.
Check him out.
I'm
yeah.
telling you, very interesting.
They're
man.
worth it.
Oh yeah.
Of course, any author would say that.
And guess what? It's interesting how we met him and his, is it wife or fiance?
Girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
I
Okay,
mean,
how
we've
met
been
him.
together for like 10 years.
Oh,
Okay.
that's cool. We met them because, as you know, we are filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
And we were filming a scene across the street at this building. And once we finished, they came over and introduced themselves. And once they did, we started talking and we found out we had the same interests. And that was amazing because sometimes we like to dabble in a little paranormal,
Yep.
just a little, not a lot.
Right.
And they do the same thing as well. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, you guys didn't know that you were filming in front of the haunted little grocery store.
Right.
Yeah,
It
we
was
did.
that was awesome. That was
Yeah,
like
again,
what?
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a guy opened it, and then, after he stocked it up and he finally opened the store to the public, he died of a heart attack inside. And then it was shut down for about 30 years. And then his son restocked it, opened it, and he had a heart attack inside. And it's been claimed to have been haunted since the 80s.
Oh, wow, we didn't even know that.
And
Yeah.
I know
Y'all
that
seen anything in there?
we did at one point. We actually have a weird, like at one point in time, the door was left unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's right across the street. I don't want to sound like a criminal. There's no
Right.
surveillance. There's no surveillance. But anyways, we peeked in just to see what it even looked like.
Right.
And it's completely dark. There's no electricity running to the building.
Right.
And we had a friend take a camera with a flash.
Uh-huh.
And we have this creepy photo where it looks like in the back, in the corner, there's like a human silhouette.
Oh, wow.
Just a weird like shadow thing. Again, I mean, regardless of my experiences as a kid, I still, I'm like, I'm a little skeptical.
Right.
But I keep seeing like stuff that's weird. Like I should believe in it at this point.
And the area y'all live in is kind of haunted, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I even know that is because I've taken people on history ghost tours up and down that road.
Right.
Because at the very beginning of that road, or right near it, is the Biggins Church ruins.
Mm-hmm.
That church burnt down 3 times. It
Wow.
it was built, and then it burnt down, and then they rebuilt it, and then it burnt down, and then that time it was burnt down during the Revolutionary War. It was burnt down with people in it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And then they built it again, and then it burnt down a 3rd time. And they're like, okay, a church is not supposed to exist here. Got
Right.
it.
Wow.
Right.
So it was the Biggins Church. There's that one. Just down the road, if you keep going down Dr. Evans Road, you eventually get to Strawberry Chapel.
Oh, we've been there.
Yeah, Strawberry Chapel. It's the only remaining building of Childsbury Town. It was a small settlement that popped up around 1700, and by 1750, pretty much everyone had vacated it. It popped up because it was as far as ships could travel up the river inland. They couldn't go any further because of the ships having like a
Deep hole.
deep hole, and the river becoming shallow. So Childsbury Town was as far inland as you could go along the river,
Right.
and there was constantly goods going back and forth between Childsbury Town and downtown Charleston.
Oh, wow.
And then also, if you go out there, one of the other, I don't want to say it's a surviving building from Childsbury Town. You go down to the very end of the road, you park, and then you walk a mile out into the woods along the dirt road. You eventually come out to Cumming Tea Plantation. And that was a plantation that was built by Captain George Cummings. And that place is also said to be haunted.
I remember y'all showed
tell
us
me
a
about-
picture from one of your friends.
Oh, yeah.
taking-
Yeah, it was from the ghost tour we did prior to meeting you guys. Yeah, the whole entire story for there is across the street from that plantation, there's this old oak tree. And the old oak tree is said to be haunted by the natives, where basically there's a spirit called the Robination. There was a Native American chieftain who was buried there, and a stone was placed over his grave. And then supposedly this tree grew up and broke through the stone. And then the tree afterwards was said to be haunted and was believed by many people that lived on the plantation, because they said that there was an entity called the Robination, And if you were wandering around through the woods and you saw it, the first time that you saw it, it would present itself as a small animal, a squirrel, a rabbit, something like that. But the longer that you stare at it, it would morph into a larger animal and a larger animal. And the next time you saw it, a larger animal. Eventually, it would become a stampede of horses.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And it would try to run you down in the road. That specifically, allegedly, happened to a man that was found unconscious in the road who had come from the plantation to go into Monk's Corner for supplies and stuff. They found him unconscious on the road, and when he came to, that was his story, was that he got ran down by the Robination entity. And he was supposedly never the same mentally again.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But the Robination entity is supposed to basically haunt that road from all the way down at Cummington Plantation and all the way out to about where we met you guys, where we live.
Oh, wow.
For real.
That's
That whole entire
crazy.
stretch of road is supposed to be haunted by the Robination.
Oh, that's spooky. You hear that, guys? Well,
So yeah,
it's coming to our time. So if you have anything positive to say to any of our audience out there while looking in the camera, go ahead and let them know some positivity, because
Right.
everybody needs some positivity in their lives.
Right.
yeah. I would say that, I mean, I've found, I guess, meaning in my life by doing this.
Amen.
I didn't really know what my plan was. My plan was certainly never to become a professional pirate. I
Great.
didn't plan on being an author either. I didn't plan on being a pirate historian. But I would just say, if you have a hobby, lean into it. If you have an interest, I mean, if you just keep at it and keep persistent, and you put in some effort to, try to make something of it, like, chances are something will happen. I've also always been told, like, dress to impress, dress the way you want to be perceived by people. Turns out that works even if you're dressing as an old-timey criminal. But because I'm pretty well received everywhere I go. Everybody loves seeing a pirate, especially if
do.
you're on the beach. Everyone loves randomly getting a photo taken with a pirate on the beach. I mean, I'm usually there to do a photo shoot or to do a video on site about some history thing or some folklore thing.
Right.
But they're just thrilled to see me. I've taken so many pictures with people in gas stations and Walmarts.
So you're a local celebrity. then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try my best.
You're not trying, you're doing, because you haven't given up.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have any plans to stop. I've published 5 books right now. I have 4 books currently that I'm working on simultaneously.
Oh,
That's
wow.
I bounce back and forth between them as I uncover stuff.
Right.
And yeah, we have a bunch of stuff going on. We specifically have an event coming up.
Okay.
If you can speak in that
Yeah.
camera and let them know.
Yeah, so we have an event coming up on May 15th and 16th in downtown Charleston. My crew, again, the crew of the Bachelor's Delight, we operate along with the Old Exchange and Provost Dungeon in downtown Charleston, which is at 122 East Bay Street. Our event is called Charleston Under the Black Flag, and it's a 2-day experience of pirate history, where we have our crew coming out to set up with our educational displays, but I also go through and I pull in a whole bunch of other pirate historians and pirate authors who are coming up from Florida, over from Georgia, down from North Carolina, getting them all wrangled together in one spot with all their books to do book signings, and all the historians are going through and giving slideshow presentations downstairs all throughout Friday and all throughout Saturday. Again, May 15th and May 16th. I also have a world-renowned diver coming in. His name is Dan Porter.
Okay.
He has dove the 1715 Spanish treasure fleet off the coast of Florida.
Oh wow.
He's also dove the Maravilla shipwreck off of the coast of South America.
Wow.
And the Atocha off of Key West. He's been doing it for about 40 years.
Oh, wow.
But he's coming in and he'll have silver bars and gold that he's pulled up from Spanish shipwrecks.
Oh, wow.
He'll have coins for sale. He'll also have his books which catalog their finds diving the Spanish shipwrecks. And then on Saturday, which is the 16th again, at 2 p.m., our crew actually puts on a performance for the public where we do a historically accurate pirate trial, where I will be portraying Captain George Rayner of the crew of the Bachelor's Delight, while the rest of our crew will be portraying the rest of the crew, and we have a judge that comes in, and we present our case, and the crowd gets to weigh in,
Right.
and determine what happens to me. So far, I've gotten off scot-free for the last couple of years.
That's awesome.
People
That's
always
awesome.
love the pirates.
Right. We got to keep this trek going, guys. We got to keep it going.
But yeah, it's a fun event. Last year we did it and it was specifically a one-day event, but it pulled in so much traffic. It was like the most trafficked day of the entire year.
Oh,
They were
wow.
so thrilled with what I was able to pull together for them that this year they're like, we're making it a 2-day event. We're going to
Oh.
expand it into a Friday. That way local schools and stuff like that can come out, and the kids can come out and see the displays and get to partake in the educational experience.
That is so awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you. And
If our grandbabies are available, maybe we can talk them their
Yeah.
parents into taking them.
yeah, and the site is really cool. It's $16 admission. There's no additional fee for the event that we have going on. It's just the normal site admission. I want to say it's $12 for kids 7 through 12, and I think it's free for kids under 7.
Okay.
But at the site, it's not just us set up there. It's a historic building that was built in 1771. If you go downstairs, there's a dungeon that you can go through and tour.
Wow.
That's cool.
And the site is relevant for what we do because it's built on the same location as for what used to be the old watch house. And the old watch house in 1718 is where pirate Captain Stede Bonnet and his entire crew were held prisoner, awaiting execution, well, trial and execution. And also the entirety of another pirate, Captain Richard Worley, his whole crew was imprisoned there as well during 1718.
Wow.
So it's a historic site that's relevant to where we are. By being there, you're occupying the same space that pirates occupied in 1718.
That is
Awesome. Can you give everybody your handles
Oh,
to
yeah.
the camera?
Yeah. All right. So basically, if you try to find me online, you can find me as Captain Morrow, Marrow. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and YouTube as Shipwrecked with Captain Morrow. I think on TikTok it's Shipwrecked W Captain Morrow because there was a character limit. But also, I've published all these books. They're all available on Amazon. Some of them are available in Kindle form. Most of them are just in paperback, though. But yeah, I would follow me on Facebook. That's where I'm most active. I update stuff about pirate history on a daily basis there. I talk about upcoming events, such as the one I just mentioned, Charleston Under the Black Flag. Again, May 15th and 16th. But I update my Instagram on a fairly regular basis.
Awesome.
All right.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. It was a pleasure having
Of
you,
course.
man.
Yes.
You have piqued my interest. I'm a history. I just love history. So just listening to you, man, oh my God. Yeah, it's been awesome.
I appreciate it.
I'm not a history person, but your stuff was interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, it's-
Make me want to go down and explore these things which
Right.
you were
Right.
talking about. And
Yeah.
we do really appreciate you for coming out to our show
Of course.
and speaking some knowledge to our audience,
Yes.
letting them know, hey, what's going on? Your events is coming up. Make sure you go to his event
Yeah,
on
check him
the
out.
15th and 16th,
Yep,
correct?
May 15th and May 16th. There's an
Roger
event
that.
page for it. Charleston Under the Black Flag on Facebook.
You heard that.
You heard that.
Roger that. Well, we thank you guys. We had a blessed weekend. Lights, camera, action. Let's talk. Your boy Chris.
And this is your girl, Demi.
You guys have a great weekend. We got Mr. Adam Morrow, Captain Adam Morrow, in the house, in the building. You go out and check him out. He's a breath of fresh air. You've heard him through the hour and a half that we've been talking with him. But we thank you guys. Have a blessed weekend.
Y'all be blessed.